I was 18 years old, 240 pounds, and, just simply did not want to be alive. Not in like a dramatic way, but a way of just, I didn't see a reason to be alive. There was nothing to look hopeful for the future, And I'm going to share with you guys the story of how I went from being in that deep, dark pit and not actually wanting the desire to be here, to being the man in front of you that is in shape, you know, pulled myself out of all the deepest, darkest pits and able to own my own business and also actually take care of other people. So, just to get into it, I mean, growing up, I never had this good self-image. I always told myself over and over again an affirmation about how I hate myself and how I don't love myself and all these things. And they used to be jokes, but they grew into just this development of looking for reasons to actually dislike my image and my character. And a lot of it growing up was playful, but it turned into hateful. And over time, being the fat kid growing up, I was in middle school. I was in seventh grade, 185 pounds. Like, I weighed more than most adults at the time, or most high school adults at the time. I just always played down to my image and felt lesser of myself because of my weight. It was very discouraging, and I'd have, other things going on in my life where it didn't really confirm or make me feel better with that self-image that I had, and there's other personal things that I won't share on here, but, it's just, I felt very hopeless with the future. And once I hit, 15 years old, I got into smoking weed with buddies, and that was something that also was fun, and it was also jokingly at the time. But it turned to this thing where I was just coping with it, like it was cool the first few months, and then the first year it was dope. But then it became this thing where it's like dab pens came around, and it was like I need to be high every second of the day, because this feeling needs to be around all the time. I need to be enjoyable. I need to have laughter, right? But then it became I can't be a funny dude. I can't be a happy dude. I can't eat a meal. I can't play video games. I can't hang out with my girl. I can't hang out with my family without smacking the dab pen, right? That pendulum took control of me. And I was high every single day for like 2.5 years straight. Every day, every second of the day. I'm talking like wake up, brush my teeth, shower, smack the pen right before school, go to school, hit the pen in first block, hit the pen second block, hit the pen maybe not third block, it depends the day, and then come home and you hit the pen and you play Fortnite all day. That was the day, right? And I was fat. I was in high school. The heaviest I weighed was 240 pounds. On average, I was about 235 to 245 was my heaviest. And I just used that pen as a means to escape reality. And I never knew it at the time, but, that was my way to escape. But always used it as a means of having fun, and that was my personality, and it was just enjoyable. But it was a coping mechanism back then, and I did not know. And, that turned very dark and deep quick, because once I was actually sober for maybe even 30 minutes to an hour, I never knew what reality was. So since I was taken out of it for so long, I mean, every day, junior year, going into junior year summer, every day I'm high, and then all of junior year I'm high, and then all of going into senior year and beginning of senior year, I'm high every single day, maybe 450 days straight. And that moment I remember vividly, like just being in reality and just sitting there and not being able to feel real, feel emotions, feel like I was actually a human being. And since I was always high, there was no visionary of the future. I already didn't like my self-image. I already did not like the man in the mirror that I saw. There was other things that were happening in my life that just weren't hopeful. I didn't have as much love in myself, so I couldn't love others or actually feel other people's love. I never actually had that community of real things around me to actually support. I did, but I never accepted it. And these are just very broad and surface level things that I was going through. But, I'm only going to talk about myself in that regards. But every day it was the pen. Every day it was getting high. And when I actually was not high and I had to be in reality, I didn't know what reality was. So I was sick. I was literally just possessed. I didn't have anything to feel. And that made me just hate life, because why does this life I feel have to be gray? You know, why does this life I feel have to lack color? It was like I was waking up in a black and white movie, right? There was no color to my world. And, I would come to school every day, still getting high, but I would put my head on the desk because I just couldn't feel. And it was to that point where everyone's graduating, everyone's going to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have any emotions. I didn't feel anything. I already hated myself. So there was just a point to where life really felt hopeless. I didn't look forward to actually going to college. I fucking hated politics and the government, and why the fuck do I have to work to make money and then take care of my family? Like, life doesn't feel like it should be this way. I was like, man, this shit sucks. Like, life just fucking blows. And I would repeat that over and over and over and over again until I actually believed it. And, it got so deep and dark to a point where I just, over and over again, would rather just be dead than actually live a future going forward. And as deep and dark as it seems, as dramatic as it seems, I had my own reasons of feeling that way. And that's for like a personal conversation for people that, whoever actually even watches this, if it's 3 people, if it's 20 people, who knows? But that's a conversation for another day. But I would just rather be dead than actually face this uphill battle of life, like this matrix of making money to survive and having this image for people to accept me because of my credentials in life. And, I have to be this individual for people to actually accept me for society. Like, all that was just BS nonsense that I didn't accept at 18 years old. And, that feeling that I had, I wanted to be alone with that feeling. So I did everything in my power to isolate myself from others so I could truly accept that sorrow. So my camera died, so I'm just going to continue where I left off because, I just don't want to lose that train of thought. But the feeling, I knew that I wanted to be alone with it so I could suffer because I just wanted to feel as low as possible. I didn't want any light in my life. So my relationship of 3 years at the time, I cut off, My mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, friends, I wanted every single person away from me so I could truly suffer. And this is about December 2019. This is like beginning of my senior year. And I'm at a point where the suffering felt good. And it was to a point where I just didn't really want to live. And it was to the point where, I don't want to go in depth. This is for a personal conversation that people might want to have. But, it got to the point where I got sent away to a mental hospital. Got hair on my tongue. I got sent away to a mental hospital, though, January of 2020 for about 5 days. And I have a tattoo on my arm. It's actually a clock that signifies the date. And, maybe there's a handful of people that know that, right? But now if you were watching this, the 1 to 5 to 20 people, whatever, like I'm saying, now you know. And I just hope that the information and the emotion doesn't make you feel alone, because if I was able to crawl out of that, then you were as well. But I just remember being in there for a weekend and, all that, the weed that I was numbing myself, I couldn't eat without weed, I couldn't sleep without weed, I couldn't feel without weed, and then it became, I just couldn't feel it all. And they just pumped me up with a bunch of medication that just made it worse, didn't help at all. Every single situation, scenario just, became this slippery slope of, well, I'm forced to survive because they handcuffed me to a chair and make me go upstairs and do the mental hospital bullshit nonsense, right? And it just felt like a time where I was just around more people, like-minded people that were crazy, if you will, from the outside eye, like schizophrenic people, split personality people, just people with all these type of issues mentally, and they're just going to force me up here. It's not really a good situation, but that's a whole other conversation for another time. But after I got out of that, my senior year of 2020, I really just was at this like point where it's like, okay, well, maybe let's try to cling on for dear life. If I have a finger on this cliff, maybe there's something that could maybe work, but I still did not want to live. I still did not want to be alive. But since that one finger was on the cliff, I was like, all right, let's figure it out. So I started going to therapy. I started, trying to value relationships more, trying to continue to develop myself, but it was a very slippery slope because I still had that same feeling inside. And, it was good because I skipped school for about 6 weeks. It was an on and off thing where I wasn't really doing school. I was just focused on healing, and my family was working with the school for me to do so. But it was this process of just healing. And I'll fast forward 2 months, but when I came back to school, it was March like 9th, March 3rd, whatever. And it was my first week back in like weeks, dude. And I remember there was a teacher that I worked with, and was not mentally stable enough to be in a classroom. Like, I was just like, I wasn't going to do the work if I was in a classroom. So I would be in a separate location to do my schoolwork, because when I got back to school, I had like nines. Like, I had like a 0 in history. I turned in one assignment. The whole entire year, I didn't even answer answers on a test. I didn't do homework. I didn't do shit. I literally did not turn assignments in. And I had like zeros and sevens and just everything. It was just awful. And I just remember coming back to school, catching up. It was like, if I am going to be alive, walking the stage in June is a focus. That's something that's a good milestone I should try to apply to. It's like, that's a start of a future that I'm going to need a high school GED diploma. So I'm going to focus on this. And I remember my teacher talking about COVID, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, the last 6 weeks, I've been off my phone just trying to cling on for dear life. Like, actually just maybe wanting to put air in my lungs when I wake up. And she brought it up, and I'm like, all right, whatever, dog. Like, I'm going to keep pushing forward. Like, I'm trying to walk. And, 2 days later, they announced, well, this Wednesday, you guys are not going to come back to school. I'm like, all right, well, maybe I can take the extra time to just solely do schoolwork and then play games and relax and go back to the same schedule, just skipping school. I thought it was good and dandy. And the following week, they were like, well, we're going to extend it one more time. And they extended it into a 3-day break, into a week break. And then that week break transitioned into spring break. And now it's like March 17th. And they completely ended my senior year. Weeks after me going to a mental hospital, like 2 months, I'm now back in the very room that I had those thoughts in. I'm trapped in my room again. I'm back into the house for 16 hours a day. I'm back into just being in confinement, but without the actual safety rails of a mental hospital. Like, it was just completely fucked on my regards, and it was horrible for me. And it was a very long healing process. The first 2-3 months, it was just horrible. But there was one night where someone was intoxicated, and I said something and made them feel threatened. But they dropped all the charges by over-exaggerating everything. But I got locked up for a night. And I just remember being locked up, back to back. I'm in a mental hospital in January. It's April 27th. I got locked up. All of these things are happening to me. And I'm just like, dude, I remember sitting in the back of a cop car, and I'm just like, I just don't belong here. I remember coming into the jail cell, getting my fingerprints taken, fucking pat down, butt naked, just everything. I just remember all of it. And I just remember sitting in that cell at like 1 a.m. I don't remember what day of the night it was, but just sitting there with this random Spanish dude that didn't even speak English. Like, I don't belong with this nigga. Like, I don't belong in this room. And, you were frowned upon even thinking about jail or prison. Like, those people are just bad people. And I was like, I'm not a bad person. Like, I have good intentions. I just don't like me. And the hatred of myself has poured into other people. It's exuberating negative energy. Like, I was possessed. And I thank the Lord. I thank Christ that I was healed, in such a short amount of time. But, in that exact moment, I just remember, instead of having one finger on the cliff, let's put 2 or 3. Because I don't belong in a room with people that are criminals. I'm not a criminal, I'm not a person that wants to put anybody down. Even if I hate myself so much, I'm going to hate me and not nobody else. And the fact that I'm in jail because of a situation with someone else just shows like it's time to heal. So from that point on, I tried. I woke up every day and tried to heal. And I tried just that, April 27th, I got sent away to live with my grandmother. I couldn't live at home. I lived with her for about 2 months. And this is still COVID. Like, I'm still trapped in the house. My grandmother's a woman of faith. She took care of me. Just always a peaceful and good energy place to be. It's a change of scenery. Like, it was good for me. And I remember just doing therapy, and my therapist was like, you should go walk. You should get some exercise. I'm like, fuck that. Like, I'm trying to go smoke a blunt and numb. Like, I'm not trying to go walk. Like, I'm trying to survive. But I remember vividly one day going on a run, and it was slightly cloudy, a little bit of dark, some drizzling happening here and there. And I ran like maybe a half mile, man, but I just ran so hard, like a half mile, maybe 0.7 miles. At the time, 217 pounds. I lost I was 245 pounds beginning of senior year. I got down to 217 pounds. This is May of 2020. And I lost all that weight just starving. Like I couldn't eat without the weed. And if I did smoke weed, I barely could eat. It was one meal a day, if that. My stomach, I had like CHS. I couldn't eat without weed. And I couldn't eat with weed. I just was fucked up. I was so depressed, I didn't care about food. I remember going on a run. I'm a fat ass. I'm out of shape. I've always been a big dude. I just remember going on that run. And afterwards, in the moment, it sucked. I remember just having clarity during that run. Remember, it was like a feeling that I never even imagined, you know? And I went home, I got in the shower, I went downstairs, and I was like, I can smile. Like, subconsciously, why do I feel so good? Why do I feel so happy? And I ran with it. Every single moment from that point on, I just ran with it. I ran with it. I was like, this is fucking addicting. This is a high. I don't care about losing weight. You know, of course I always hated my body, but I don't care about losing weight. Like, I want to work out because this is medicine. Like, this makes me want to wake up and live today. Like, this makes me want to wake up and heal. This makes me want to wake up and use momentum to heal in other aspects. Maybe if I go work out, I'll have the desire to actually maybe read a self-help book today. Maybe if I work out, maybe I'll have the desire to go hang out with my friends a little bit longer, right? It healed me. And I ran with it. And then, you know, a couple months went by. I didn't take my diet serious. This is May of 2020. And about until like August of 2020, I didn't take any food serious. I didn't work out serious. It was just hit workouts, workout time to time, but it wasn't anything crazy, you know? I would say from end of June to August, I fell off completely. You know, that whole entire summer, I got off the antidepressants. I started to kind of feel myself conflicting and changing into this mold where I could actually be accepted and talk to people in public, and I had all this time to heal. So I went to Beach Week, got drunk, got high, did all the fun stuff that you do at Beach Week. I came home, whole entire, you know, after I got COVID, came home, I quarantined, whole entire summer. It's just party because I'm 18. I've been in quarantine. Everyone's out now. We're going to hang out. I'm going to never see these people again. So let me hang out with them and go crazy before everyone gets sent off to college. And then it's August 2020 and I'm sitting here and it's like, well, I'm not in college. I fucking barely even graduated with a GPA, you know? So I applied to my local community college. I went to school and I was like, there's nothing else for me to do as I sit here in isolation besides keep healing. But maybe I'll get into working out again. So my dad, at the time I lived with him, and he had a weight set in his basement. And I just would wake up every morning and I was fucking addicted to working out. I made it, like, it wasn't the weight loss journey, right? Of course I had goals in time, but I became obsessed with the process because of the feeling that it gave me for working out. It was the only true therapy that made me feel whole again. And I ran with it. And I'd work out every day, 6 days a week. I'd lift. And I'd go upstairs after I lifted, and for 5 hours straight, I'd go study. You know, I did some schoolwork, I did my assignments, but outside of that, everything was dedicated. I probably have 3 notebooks full of just notes on fitness, nutrition, how to actually work out, everything, write your workouts, every single finite detail, and I learned about it. And I remember going to school to have a business degree, like every other fucking person in my age group. Forgive me, I keep cussing too much, but every other person has in my age group. And I was like, I'm gonna do business, you know, it makes money. Well, I was like, you know, I enjoy this fitness stuff, and I want someone else to feel that help that I had through fitness because I'm passionate about it. It actually put breath in my lungs. It made me want to live. I'm gonna push it forward to someone else. So I went to school to be a physical therapist. And I was doing the best I've ever done in school in my life, you know, because graduating, as you heard, I had like 7s. So baseline whole life, I was like a C student, if that, you know? C minus, C plus, B minus, C plus area. And then I had all A's and B's for the first time in my whole entire life in college. And I remember vividly shout out my boy, Ethan, he's my brother in Christ. I remember having a conversation with him and I was like, dude, like this, I'm not doing college for me. Like I don't enjoy doing schoolwork. Because it brought me back, and I didn't tell him this at the time, but it brought me back to the man that was doing something for someone else, and it made me truly unhappy. You know, what I want to do is I want to help people, but I can help people without doing 7 years of school, without paying $20,000 a year, $15,000 a year. I was like, I can do something else, and I don't have to wait 7 years to go help a person, right? It's 2026 right now. I'd still be in school getting my master's degree to be a physical therapist, but I did my own route. And I thank God for that. And from that point on, I just stopped turning in assignments. I failed out. Still paying off that debt for school because I don't want to pay off the debt, right? Fuck them, but slowly paying that off, slowly. But, you know, I dropped out of school and I was like, I'm going to do my own way. I'm going to make my own way. You know, I'm starting to heal. I'm starting to love again. And I loved myself through working out. And I was like, I want someone else to feel the same thing that I feel. So I put all my time and effort, and I was like, what can the route be? I was like, well, maybe I can be a personal trainer once I'm confident enough, right? So I was like, I'll be a personal trainer. And then I was like, well, I can day trade too. I can make money. Like, I got to make bread. Like, I got to make millions of bucks. Up and down, I've made a couple $1,000s in a day. I've made $10,000 in a month. I've lost thousands of dollars in a month. Like, it wasn't for me. Because I wasn't making the money for taking care of my family. I made the money to like drop a bag and like have freedom and, you know, do this, that, the third, to have materialistic stuff. But that's just all greed and sinful in my eyes. That's why I never prospered. But, you know, the day trading was a thing for a year. I worked a regular job. But about the start of 2022, I was like, you know what? I've been training for so long for my own, you know, it's about time that I actually pursue my passion. And I went to school. I got my first certification for training. Fast forward, I got my job at a local gym in my area. It's like a higher level gym that you probably need years of experience for. I got blessed through the door with that because I knew somebody. I was training for about a year. I'm just excelling the story right now because we're just getting to a point. But I met this man and he took my training to another level where I wasn't a bodybuilder anymore. You know, I was able to actually rehab people, fix people through movement assessments, and actually train like people need to be fixed rather than just, you know, cutting off branches of the tree by making you lose weight. I want you to feel whole. I want you to feel healed. And that's the whole thing about it, is like movement is medicine, you know, and that's what I wanted people to feel. I didn't want them to just cut off a branch of a tree. If I cut off a branch of a tree, it'll eventually grow back. If I cut off the plant in front of my eyes, I cut off a stem, eventually that stem will grow back in time. Right? So people have movement complications. If people are fat as shit and they want to lose weight, I'll help them work out. I'll help them eat right. But if they don't have the actual healing modifications and processes to figure out what got them fat in the first place, they're going to get fat 10 years down the line, right? I wanted to kill that old version of themselves. And I learned that through this man. I followed him around. He mentored me. This is about 2023. End of 2023, I started to go back to school, have multiple different certifications. 2024, I did that. I ran with it. I was one of my better trainers in my gym for about a long time, but it wasn't the environment that I wanted. So fast forward, I'm sitting here in an office, December 24, and I remember my buddy talking about all these plans he has, and I've always been an ambitious person. I was like, fuck it, dude, I gotta start my own thing. So I started working at making my own in-person business. I was like, I'm confident enough. I have the skills. I stand out. I think I'm one of the best trainers in this area. I know I am. So I'm gonna do my own thing. And I invested all the money that I had, not all of it, but a good portion of my money, and I made a business plan. I made all these things. I legally backed my business. I did everything that I needed to do. And I was like, I'm going to start a company and get my own gym in the area, and I'm going to start my own business. In April of 2025, I did just that. April 13th, I opened my own business. I've been training people for about a year, you know. I'm making more money than I've ever have. I'm living in my own one-bedroom apartment right now, which is a dream, you know. I mean, especially with it being $2,500 a month. I'm healed. I'm sitting in front of this camera as in the best shape of my life. I'm 200 pounds. I guess credentials. I guess I have like a six pack and a lot of muscles, but like none of that matters to me. You know, what matters to me is I healed, you know, and I give glory to God. I healed and I thank the Lord. And through movement, I want every single other person to feel the same. You know, no one deserves to feel like that. I don't give a shite if you've killed a man. I don't care if you cheat on your wife. Regardless, no person deserves to feel the grasp of what the devil has to offer. It's all sinful, it's all vain, and it's simply just a place where you are at the bottom of a pit and it feels like you're in hell. And no one deserves to go to hell. I think everybody is saved through God and through Christ. And, you know, that's just how I feel. I want everybody to be saved through movement. I want everybody to be saved through the healing process that I healed myself, and that's why I pay it forward, right? So if you actually watched this whole video, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But I want you to know, you are not alone. You know, you probably resonated with me with some certain area. You probably came here to watch something, I don't know, but you came here with a different aspect. I just want you to know you are not alone, right? I was able to pull myself out of hell with the help of God. Mental hospital, jail, back-to-back 2 months, sitting here not even wanting to be alive for months, going through all these other struggles with family and friends, and I just got out of a 3-year relationship. I'm just alone. Like, there's a lot of stuff that most people don't really recover from in a fast amount of time, but I did it. So you can do the same thing in life. You can heal the same way. You can stop numbing yourself with the weed. You can stop hating what you see in the mirror, right? You can love who you are, right? And it starts with an actual foundation. For my foundation, it was fitness. For yours, it might be learning how to cook. It might just be learning how to actually hack and ethically code stuff for work, right? But at the end of the day, everyone deserves a system that brings them to healing. And that's exactly what I do for other people now, right? So if you've made it this far and you're looking to heal, you're looking to have a system for you, you're looking for a way out, I promise you, I've done it for myself countless times. I've done it for other people that I work with, right? So if you want to heal, if you want to make that difference, if you want to change your life, click that first link in my bio or message me on Instagram, which I'll put down below. But at the end of the day, you're not alone. You know, I've been through it all, and I know that if I'm able to sit here in front of a camera to boldly tell you what I talked about today, I know damn well you can do anything if you put your mind to it, all right? So I'm looking forward to hearing from whoever actually watched this video. If not, then to future Isaiah that is watching this, truly proud of you, and I'm very excited to see where I am in the next year. God bless everybody that's watching, and I hope all of you guys have a good day.